Welcome back to the podcast without a name. We are on the mic with Tony Klein. To my right, I have Eric Rustler sitting over here from Adventure Dumb. And to my left, I have the man himself, the mastermind media man, Mark.
It's Adventure Dumb /
Rodriguez.
Okay.
Yeah, don't forget about Audio Underdog. He's all the A names.
Oh, yeah.
We had a whole bunch of things.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did this last week for the very first time, and then while our editor was editing it, and I was like in a meeting, he kept on laughing behind me. I'm like, "Come on, man!" But then I realized he was laughing at the podcast. I'm like, "I think we got something."
He's like, "These guys think this is gonna work."
Yeah,
yeah.
These guys are fucking dumber than I thought.
Now I know why they thought about calling it shit for brains.
Yeah,
he did. He actually, when he uploaded it to the to Frame to send you guys, it was shit for brains. I was like, backspace. I'm like, we're not calling it that. I can't be a part of this.
Poo poo for brains. Come on.
Yeah, come on. There's children at your home.
My son's got to listen to this.
Yeah.
Eventually, yeah. It's like,
once he learns how to hear.
What was my dad like when he was young, old?
Yeah.
When he was young, old.
In that mid stage of Benjamin Button.
Yeah, so how does it feel? So you get the first one out there. I know, Tony, you tried to start one about a year ago.
Yeah.
And then you got busy and doing a lot of different things. So now that we have something, you're like, okay, this feels good.
Well, I guess kind of like, what we're going for anyone that's listening to this podcast. This is basically a free form, nothing really pigeonholing us in any kind of topic and stuff like that. And I think last year when I was trying to go down that road, it ended up being too much on like the blue collar trade thing, which is a chapter of my life that was cool, but I don't want to have just a podcast devoted to only that type of thing. So I think just having topics we can kind of talk about is the best way to go about podcasting.
I think, yeah, especially like having 3 people on that, like, are kind of doing different things, but all know each other. Like, I think the conversation is just going to kind of, do its own thing.
Yeah.
You don't have to really think about it too much. Like, if you have a podcast where you bring someone on that's a specialist in something, then obviously that's what you're going to talk about, but not necessarily the whole time. Yeah,
because everybody's a human.
Yeah, you
experience
just like,
and that's what's even funny about having a specialist on too, but then not even asking those questions. Like, so who the fuck are you really?
Yeah. What are your thoughts on this?
Like, but we can have those conversations here, or we can just laugh and talk about bullshit or old times. But as we were walking up today, or going up the elevator, I felt like based on what we were doing when we first met, waiting tables together, it's like we bottled something and now we're packaging it, and putting it out there, and it's like because
it's like letting someone like look behind the curtain and like be like, oh, this is like what you guys would do every day. I was like, that like.
Because we had a great time doing it, and like there's probably a lot of shit that's probably only funny to us, stupid like inside jokes. But I think a lot of it, I think people want it.
Jokes.
They are, that's we are indoors.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always been a thing. Like with I've only really worked at 2 places, but for a long period of time, you just, I think with us 3, we always kind of like tried to have as much fun as we could at the place where we're at. So it was like, didn't matter what we were doing. Like if we all worked together, like we'd probably have the same amount of fun, like just fucking around and joking around and making fun and just all that kind of stuff. So,
well, you only had 2 jobs in the service industry, but every job we've had that kind of like, just do the task at hand seriously, but anything that's not related to work is just clowning the whole time. That's like the fun part, from like construction to our office job. Like we had an office job, one of the first jobs we had when I moved back out here in like 2007, and there was a manager that was like our age, but he was like way too serious for a job. There was a startup company that was gonna fail anyways. He just like took it. He was like fucking like, had like custom made suits. I'm like, bro, this place is like barely.
This place is going under.
Like, what are you doing?
This place ain't gonna last like a week.
You're peaking too soon, man. It's all downhill after this.
Don't put your eggs in this basket.
Yeah. Just like didn't know what the fuck was going on ever, and like we'd have these meetings about stuff that we needed to do. Meanwhile, like work is just piling on my desk, and we'd have like half-hour, 2-hour long meetings. I'm like, Justin, I need to go to work and do this shit we're talking about doing. Like this is, he's just sitting there like, what are you guys just like spitballing, like doing this thing, like just trying to like just basically make himself feel busy.
You just want to write on the whiteboard?
Yeah. So the second,
like really, like come up with like 5 ideas. And
so
like, I don't know what I want for
cubicle.
lunch.
But like it became at some point in time, anytime we go to the bathroom and walk down the hall, you just hear and it'd be Eric and I flicking off the guy's office. It was like the second, like, hey man, I gotta go take a leak, and then all of a sudden you hear like 2 seconds later, like Like it was, I knew like Eric was flicking them off, or I was doing the same thing, and it just became like a thing to do. Just to
Wouldn't that be funny if there's like cameras in there the whole time? We didn't know.
It's like, fuck these guys.
We can't fire him though. There's only fucking 5. There was only like 5 of us in the whole fucking company.
I don't know if you guys have heard about the company. It's Google. I don't think anything ever happened.
Never gonna take off. Never.
But that actually reminds me. Have you guys ever been fired from a job?
No.
I had well, it just made me think of a friend of mine. He was somebody who was a general manager of a restaurant I worked at, and we got like super close because he was like the cool guy, but then he also had to be be a general manager of a restaurant, and it was really tough, I think, for him to do it because I think he was like maybe 30 or 32. I was like 22, so he wanted to like talk to girls and hit on girls and stuff with me, like as we're like at work and stuff. But then like one day I got secret shopped. I was bartending. I got secret shopped 3 months in a row, and it was like a corporate. Eventually got to be a corporate style restaurant, and the first time I got like an 80%, so I was fine. The next time I got like a 90, and then I got like a 40%. Because I was fucking busy. It was like a Sunday night. I have all these tables here, and I'm making for the rest of the restaurant. It's fucking busy, like and. So you can't hit all the points in a corporate restaurant of like, suggest or whatever. Plus, I didn't give a fuck anyway, so I never really did. I don't even know how I got a decent score before.
The first 2 were just flukes, and the third one's the honest
What's
score.
in this salad? I don't know. Tomatoes, probably.
Definitely salad.
Fucking order or not.
Says it on the menu.
I'll be right back. And then, but the one night, so then we got the report for the third secret shopper, and I didn't know yet. And another manager was we're all friends, right? We would even hang out after work and stuff. And he comes in, he goes, "Hey, oh shit, we'll have to bleep that." But he said, "Yeah, he wants to see you in the office." And I was like, I just fucking, was like, oh fuck. And I was doing taxes in Inglewood at the time too. So I was doing taxes like 5 days a week and then working like 4 days. I was like fucking burnt out, but I was crushing it trying to stack money. And I go into the office and he's sitting there and now he's, playing like general manager mode. And I'm like,
what's up, fucker? And he's like, no,
it's like, have a seat. Not even that. Have a seat. And I'm like, what the fuck? So he sits there, and then the other dude comes in, and he's now behind me, and I'm sitting there in my fucking stupid uniform with the pocket protector, and he's like, I want you to read this. Here's the report. I'm like, fuck, I see like 40% or something. Yeah. But then I take my time and read it, and he goes,
I can't read. I can't read.
So I read the whole thing, and I'm like, he's like, so what do you have to say for it? I was like, well, sounds like they had a great time. I just missed a few points. He was like, nope, you're retraining. You have to retake all the tests. And I was like the one that would train people. Like you have to retrain, you have to retake all the tests, and you can't work again until you do all of that. And I'm like, I was just over it already. I was like, man, I'm a fucking poker player. I'm like, nah, I'm out, man. I'm gonna put my 2 weeks in right now. You want me to write on the back of this? You want me to mail it in? And he was like, and I was like, he's like, write it right here. I'm like, all right, cool. So I wrote it. And then by the end of the day, I was like, hey man, is it cool if I work with Tom one more time?
Oh, no way.
And I was like, cause we've been working together for 5 years. Let me just have one more night. So we had one more night, and I hooked everybody up. And then I got,
supposed to give me a check at the end of this? No.
And then I got the call later I got a call later that night. I was like, I don't want you to quit. You can just retrain 3 days. I was like, I'll retrain 2 and I'll do it at a different restaurant. So I did it at the same restaurant, but a different location. But I was like, I can't come back to work for like another 2 weeks or 3 weeks because I was so busy doing the taxes thing too. I was like so burnt out. So it was actually a nice vacation. I met some good people at this other location. And then I showed up a month later and people were like, I thought you quit. But that was the closest thing to, but it was very similar to, somebody that I felt was peaking too soon. He's still a friend of mine. Like we're cool, whatever. But I think it was tough for him to manage being, wanting to be cool because you're young, but then also be a manager and be strict, especially at a restaurant.
You get that power trip kind of thing too, where you're like, oh,
it's hard to deal with.
I can like tell people what to do and shit. Yeah. Like you can kind of look into like when you work with certain people, it can be like if they have a little taste of that, you're like, oh shit, good thing you're not a manager because like you just that little bit of like authority that you got, you really like ran with it,
They always do that thing like when they first get that taste of power, like, hey, why don't you go do the thing that I can do easily, but I'm just gonna tell you to do it now I can type thing. Like,
and it's a hard thing to deal with now that I have like my team and stuff too, and I try to lead by example, and it's the it's definitely a learning curve into how to do that, because you want to be the cool guy and hang out and stuff, and it's also like, all right, we have to get stuff done. Otherwise, like you said, we could be efficient with the job and then be able to have a good time while doing it. Right. And I think that's something we all three have in common. Yeah. No matter what we're doing.
Yeah, everybody was good at their job, and we all worked, well together because we all could get our shit done.
Yeah.
Well, Eric and I had a commercial painting job like before we moved out to California. And it was one of those, same thing too. Like
this is when you went. This is when you went back.
Back in Wisconsin, yeah.
But before you came out the first time, or when you went back?
I was already out here the first time. I moved back in 05, like the winter of that year.
Back. Right? That was very Wisconsin.
With my mom and dad, 05.
Nope.
Katrina hit. Snow everywhere. Terrible winter. Regretting it. And I didn't want to move back home, but I was trying to find like the best paying job I could find. So I was on Craigslist looking for like another labor job because I had a construction background, and commercial painting was the highest paying gig. For it. Yeah, and basically like I made a cut and paste resume. It was like, must know how to cut and roll. I'm like, I know how to cut and roll. So when I went to the interview, I just kind of bullshitted my way through it. And I got to the job site earlier and saw what they were using for like a sprayer and the product they're using and stuff like that. So when I went back to my car and the owner showed up, we were walking around the job site. I'm like, you guys using a Titan 440? I've used that before. He's like, you used the sprayer before? I'm like, oh yeah, you guys doing dry fall? And fucking landed the job. Then got Eric in the door like a couple weeks later.
He's saying the same lines.
Yeah,
it's the Technom 2.
This is not Titan 8040. Yeah. What? He's like, what is this kid?
Niner.
Yeah.
But what happened?
He seems like a nice guy. Just hire him.
Yeah.
Like, within like a week or two, I got like promoted to this coveted. This is back when Nextel was still a thing with the chirp phones.
Oh, I loved it.
So that was a big thing. It was like, oh, you got a yellow phone, and like all these guys, these crusty old dudes that have been in the biz for a long time. I was like now their supervisor and shit. So it was, it was funny because we worked with a guy, two dudes that were recovering addicts, right? And they were like,
everybody was. And we didn't even smoke weed or do anything. Yeah. Like the only drugs.
You better fucking start. You better keep this job.
No, so like we didn't so Tony and I, we just never really did any weed or any like drugs or anything like that. And like back in Wisconsin, weed was like considered like a hard drug. I was like, man, I never did it in high school or anything. Yeah. And so I'd be like,
it's on the heroin now, old green
yes.
heroin.
So we started working for this painting company, and like on our first lunch break, like, all of our managers, whatever, that were maybe like 5 years older than us or like the same age, were like, all right, so we're going on break. And they all pile in this minivan, and they all just start smoking weed and shit. And they're like, all right, you want some weed? I'm like, is everyone smoking weed while we're working? Yeah. I was like so blown away by that like that was just like the normal thing. Now looking back, I'm like, that would have been the best job to smoke weed at, because it's like you're just like painting a fucking wall and
not like forgetting someone's order or anything like that. You're just basically making a wall look pretty and shit like that.
Yeah, it's like super no-brainer,
instant gratification,
fun. And I was like, I can see why stoners do this job, and everyone was like super stoners, but it was very weird.
But I was like, that was like my first job with a position of power and stuff like that. And it was like, probably, I think I was a great substitute teacher. That's how I kind of felt about the vibe. Because I had like, everyone was still like, I could get the guys that were kind of bitter that they didn't get the promotion to work with me. But like some of them had some pushback. I mean, this dude named Kurt, who's like the greatest bitter, dry, fucking smartass I have ever worked with my entire life. Was it you or me that was in the bucket painting bricks?
I mean,
backup hard drive. Come on,
this dude, like this guy.
The footage is corrupt.
Okay. Scrambled.
My backup file needs a backup file.
Fucking, we were like in a boom lift, right? So we're about 30 feet up in the air, painting fucking like decorative bricks. So we would do like the outside, the exterior of the building, stuff like that. And he's like, just sits there fucking deadpan, like, in my high school guidance counselor said I wouldn't amount to nothing. Look at me, I'm a professional brick painter.
He was fucking hilarious. The guy had so many like bitter little one-liners he'd fucking throw in there.
As a commercial painter, you have to, painters in general, you have to wear like all white, which I feel like is the job site like dunce cap, where it's like, all right, look who is the least fucking qualified to be here, the guy in all white, right? You're like a step above the job site cleaner. That's basically where you fall in the hierarchy of construction trades and shit. And we roll up the job in like some fresh brand new pants we just knew on the job and stuff, and Kurt looks over, he's like, oh, I didn't know they made those in women's sizes. Just fucking like from the word go,
just start going in on us. And he fucking hated the job. He fucking hated everybody. He just had a kid too, so he's like a newly kid, like he's not making good money. He's like,
he was also at night he was working as a mortician. So
that's right.
He's like an ex-heroin addict, fucking new father, moonlighting as a fucking mortician and shit. So
stories,
he also
man.
chewed tobacco, so I chewed tobacco all the time too. So I'd fucking bum dips off him or whatever, and I didn't have anything to spit. He's like, just spit in the paint bucket. So I was spitting in the paint bucket. So I'm just basically spitting the paint and putting the paint on. I'm like, I don't know, should we be doing this? It didn't change the color at all, but like, there's buildings in Milwaukee that have like my DNA and chew
Didn't he
tobacco
say
all
some
over
like
the shit.
fucked up shit about?
Yes, he did. So he's like, I was like, man, I kind of felt a little weird, but he's like, nah. He's like, I'll spit in the chest cavities and the fucking bodies, and then vacuum it all. I'm like, you're spitting in someone's loved one as a fucking spittoon, like yeah,
he was spitting in the body, like fucking what the fuck,
Oh,
dude?
that's one of my favorite scenes from. Have you guys seen Garden State?
yeah.
Zach Braff, and he goes home for his mother. I think it's his mother's funeral or something like that. And he goes back, and then it's two of his buddies that live back wherever he was living. Where's Garden State? Was that New Jersey? And they're all like digging someone's grave, and then he goes sees like whatever the names are. Hey, what are you guys doing? And he's like, oh, well, hey, listen, you should come. There's a party tonight. We just got to bury your mother, and then after that, you should meet us up later. I was like.
He's gonna go bury my friend's mom.
Yeah, we're gonna bury your mother, and we'll meet you later.
I was like,
that's dark.
Yeah.
Seeing this or dating this girl online before I moved out here, and
POF.
yeah, it was like the POF days when that was like a thing, and
Plenty of fish for the layperson.
plenty of fish. And so I had like spoke with her a few times, and we had emails and whatnot, and I never met her yet before. Ended up meeting her, and she was really cool and nice and everything. But I was showing her, she had like a Facebook page or like a MySpace or something like that. And I'm like, hey man, like this is the girl that I'm like seeing. I'm telling this Kurt guy this, and we're at like some gas station or something. There was like one of those like free computers you can use, like if you need to use a computer thing. And I'm like, oh dude, I'll show you who it is. Like check this out. And so I show him this girl that I've been talking to. He's like, Jesus Christ, this girl's conceited. She's got her own fucking website. And I'm like, what? And he was just so like, just like that perfect delivery, and just super like, just like never smile. But we could get him laughing too, though. He was like,
he had a good like,
I could picture that.
Yeah, we would like get him going and stuff, and then we became good friends with him, like work friends. But then I think we were trying to reach out to him or find whatever happened to him.
He didn't know about social media, so there's no way to fucking like track him down. But like that was probably one of the coolest dudes we met on the job.
Kurt?
But Kurt. So
Kurt,
Eric and I
last name.
have been attached to the hip for like since high school, and then the last 17 years worked together. Kurt had his Eric or Tony, vice versa, whatever, named Frank, and Frank was like fucking potentially still using, but like also the worst work ethic, because he'd be on my crew sometimes, and we were painting this giant fucking like Catholic church school, and he went missing, and I found him laying on his side, just paintbrush, just like not even really just basically making the motion of painting. I'm like,
that's not even part of the job.
Same thing too. I'm in that boom lift out now. I'm like 30 feet up in the air. I have a bird's eye view of the job site, and I fucking see Frank not painting but doing air guitar to some 80s shit in the fucking in the dumpster corral. I used to give him all the shit jobs, like go paint the bumper post, which is those yellow posts that they have in like commercial buildings, so you don't hit the corner of the wall. Yeah, that was all the shit I would only trust him to do, simple stuff like that.
Yeah, he had like one of those Milwaukee boom boxes. Like each like tool company has like their own like brand of like stuff for the job site. Yeah, well, he had like this brand new like Milwaukee brand boom box, and he'd always be blaring it and stuff. So it'd be like Tony would be like, go paint inside the dumpster corral. The dumpster corral is like it encloses where the dumpsters are, so you don't look at them, and it's kind of like a little fence around the dumpsters, so you couldn't see. Like unless you were over it. Well, we were in a boom lift, which like elevates you like a few stories up, so we could see in. So we're like painting this wall outside of this building, and as we get higher, we're like, I don't know what Frank's up to. And that's when we look over, and he's not painting. He's fucking playing air guitar with one of his like rolling sticks, like fucking just jamming out in there. We're like
killing it.
Yeah, fucking ton of characters.
You guys are like, is that Pearl Jam?
Yeah.
He's like trying to figure out what song it was.
Killing the
Talk about fucking depressing, because again, like, seasonal depression is like a real thing if you live in a four-season state. And then moving from California, basically like, I guess acting's not going to work for me. And then I go back to working in this fucking dead-end job with a bunch of fucking like, Looney Tunes. I'm like, oh my God, like this can't be it for me. Like, no thanks. So we'd always talk about like, once it was kind of like set in stone, like we're getting out of here. We're going to California in a couple months. Like that's all we talked about. And if, Kurt was like, let me guess. In California, this is better. I'm like, yeah, like I've become the chick from fucking American Pie. Like, and one time in band camp,
Yeah.
one time in California.
Oh,
The Frank guy too was like super interesting guy. Like he was a recovering alcoholic and like heroin addict and all this shit. And he was also like, I think like in the closet, and he'd always be like, and he was an ex-boxer. Like he like taught boxing classes and stuff. So like he was like kind of known to kind of like he could beat some ass. But he'd always be like, hey, what's going on? Like kind of be like real like touchy and stuff, and be like, hey, you guys want to come over to my apartment and like swim?
Your shoulders
You guys want to swim in the pool? You guys want to come over and swim in the pool?
And you're like, I'd love to.
I
You
love
have a pool?
swimming.
Man, you guys don't mind if I set some cameras up, do you?
Yeah, like you'd always
Dude.
say like
Go,
kind of
go change in the room. There's no cameras in there, I promise.
Yeah. It'd be like, man, it's like Frank asked you to go swim in his pool. He's like, everyone would be like, yeah, he always asks people to go swim in his pool. Like,
I don't want to
maybe
do that. I don't want
we shouldn't go swimming in Frank's pool.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, that seasonal depression. I remember when I had like my first 10 years, I would never go to Michigan more than 2
Days.
Yeah, more than 2 times a year. I couldn't afford to. It'd be like 3 days or like a 5-day trip, maybe for Christmas or
Yeah.
something. And then I was dating a girl at the time, and it was probably about a decade into it. And I was like trying to figure it out because I was like waiting tables and saying I was auditioning and just being very busy, but not really making a lot of progress. As far as like what I wanted to be doing. So I was like, I think I just need to recalibrate. I'm going to go back to Michigan for 2 months. But also knew that we were going to probably break up. We were still together. It was tough or whatever. But then I went back for 2 months, and I remember I finally made the decision that I was coming back, because I always knew I was going to come back. I had like a sick family member and stuff too. Which is like a whole other story about how a tarot card reader told me that. Actually, I asked her if it was okay, if it was a good idea to go back for 2 months. And she's like, you're going to go spend the last 2 months of someone's life before they pass away. So yeah, it's a good idea. And I was like, holy shit. And literally I went home, spent 2 months with my grandmother. And then as soon as I flew back, she passed away. It was crazy. But it was the bet. Like I could never imagine a better scenario to go
it was
back.
Gonna be her? Were you just sitting at dinner?
No.
Who in here? This table's not going to be too much.
No, so it literally.
Someone here. Is
Yeah,
happy to be
I'm like
here.
it's.
Better get
it
your
might
affairs in order. You got 60 days.
find out it's me. I'm like,
Yeah.
no, no. The girl that I was dating at the time, she was like, hey, let's go to. You want to go to a tarot card reading? I'm like, no, I don't do that bullshit. And she was like, come on, I already paid for it. So I was like, fine. I actually wrote a whole script about this later on. It's very pivotal in my life. So we go up to this place. I go get a Reiki done. There's a Reiki to get all like the bad vibes out. And I was like, oh, this is kind of some hocus pocus shit. I don't know if I believe in this, but all the sense and stuff. And she gets a tarot reading, and then we switched. And I go in. The tarot card reading is pretty fucking on point. I'm like, she's like, at the end of the 30-minute or hour session, she said, do you have any other questions you want to ask me? And I was like, I'm good. Actually, I'm leaving to go back to Michigan for 2 months. You think that's a good idea? And she was like, she did the fucking thing, whatever. She's like, I feel like you're going to go back to Michigan for 2 months before someone passes away. And at the time, my one grandmother had just got diagnosed with cancer, but she was like doing okay. My other grandmother was in the hospital, and my other, she had like 2 triple bypasses in her life, and she was back in, she usually just would overcome everything. And then my other friend was in the same hospital for alcoholism, and he was in the same hospital, the bottom floor. So I went in, I'm like, well, I think we have it narrowed down. So I'm like, whatever. So, but I spent so much time with my grandmother. I videotaped her talking about my grandfather, all this stuff. And literally, my friend got better. Now he's been sober for like 6 years now. My other grandmother, they were like, oh, we don't think you ever had cancer. It was like a fucking weird thing. And then my other grandmother, she was the one that passed away. But right around that last week, I walked outside one day and I looked up and it was just overcast and cold and gray. And I'm like, I just got claustrophobic. I was like, oh shit. Plus I was depressed and super anxious because of the breakup and shit. I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I need the sunlight.
You should go back to that same person now and see if because you were in that kind of mental space, if you go to that same person and they're like, hey, so you want a tarot card reading, Reiki, jerky off or something? And you're like, what? What kind of place was this? And it ends up not even being like, it's like some super shady ass fucking place. But you're like,
there never was a place.
You were in your head. You're in your head about it. So you're like, oh, these are all the things that like.
Actually, somebody else asked about it, and I was like, well, this is a really great place, and I think it was in Los Feliz or something, yeah, I would love to know. Like, I can kind of picture the girl.
It was just a front.
Yeah,
right.
It was.
It's like a
Oh yeah, we do
massage
Reiki
parlor.
Yeah, we do tarot card reading.
But it ended up being I was like, fuck. Okay, I believe in. There's something here. There's no way.
You got another one who wants a Reiki.
Yeah.
She's all double Reiki right here.
You guys know Kurt?
What kind of a spiritual place is this?
Yeah. This is awesome. Yeah. But yeah, that definitely, that overcast sky got me. It was like the final straw. I was like, looked up. I was like, oh, I gotta get out of here, you know? So it's hard. I mean, so a lot of people deal with that over there in the Midwest or in cold states.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of long for that now out here.
Seasonal depression?
Yeah, yeah, just a couple days of it.
Everything's too
good in
good.
a long time. You know?
Yeah.
Just a nice, like today was a little bit like it because it was kind of overcast, it was a little cooler out, you know. It's like, okay, I like, you know, that cold weather. You can you can smell it in the air, you know, when like the weather starts to turn back home and it's like everything just has that like crispness to it. And then you know, you're putting on like a heavier clothes and you're having like something like hot, you know, and
Wait for the snow to stick and not melt right when it hits the
and
ground.
like the smells in the air, like you smell people like burning leaves and shit like that. You know,
I
like,
hate that fucking.
I love that
stuff.
stuff.
I do like the change. I just can't do it for too long. So my
Yeah,
hat's
just
off
like
to
a
anybody
couple
that
days.
goes through that. Cause I have a lot of friends that were like, yeah, I can never move out of here. I love the four seasons. And I'm like, yeah, that's a different kind of, it's a, you know, certain kind of person. And a lot of people love it.
I love the uphill battle of shoveling my car out every day to go to work and just like putting sandbags in the back. Just,
I think you can do that here. You just go like up north. Like, or you go to like Big Bear, and like they have all that shit there.
It's different though because it is like very much like a California, like almost like a movie set where it's like you have that, but it's not as pristine. It's not as like touched like Michigan or Wisconsin. Like when you get to the lush North Woods, it's fucking so. I mean, I just was there like last month. It's just the crispness in the air, how fresh the water is. Amazing. Like I'm surprised how clear Clear Lake is still to this day. You know, my family's been going there for like 3 generations. That's like our camping place.
I mean, they have places like that up north, like little towns, like little gold rush towns that still are there that are like literally the same stuff as like back home. It is there. There is some differences.
Like even if you know when you get like lost in any kind of woods out here, you'll still happen upon like a gum wrapper or some evidence.
The only difference is like if you go to like one of those places in California, like up north, you're gonna run into somebody that's wearing like Balenciaga and shit and like fucking like, you know, all that.
I don't like camping, all that stuff. Like we did it every once in a while, but I didn't grow up like that. And then once I got out here, I just never. But I know that. What's that? Yeah, but you obviously love it. You have a whole brand based on it.
But I didn't really like it when I was growing up.
What turned you to start adventuring in a dumb fashion?
Well, like, okay, so like growing up, I would go, like my dad would always take us camping. We go like once a year with like my godfather and his kids and his wife and stuff. And that was kind of like a thing that we did every year. And it was always like, I just remember my dad just bitching about everything all the time. Like, this fucking tent. And like the tent was like made of like this thick canvas and it had like these iron rods. It was like in 400 pieces with no fucking instructions. And he was always yelling and it would always happen to rain when we'd go. And it was always just like this huge pain in the ass. And then like leading up to it, he'd be like, kind of get anxiety and be like, oh, we got to wake up at this time. And like kind of like the, what is it? Griswold's kind of a thing, like, all right, here we go, we're going on a trip, like everybody get out of shit, and you know, packing up like every belonging that you fucking have, and it was this huge stressful fucking thing. Even though you didn't really have to worry that much as a kid, like you can feel that like vibe, you know, off of like your parent if they're like stressing out about something. So like when we would go camping and stuff like that, it'd be cool, and like I got a little taste of that, but when I moved out here and got to go up north, and that's when it like really was like, oh, like there's a whole different way of doing it. And then especially now with like technology and everything, things are so much easier, so much lighter, a lot more affordable too. And it just makes it like the whole experience, I think, a little bit more enjoyable. And maybe just being out there, like having like, you know, I didn't have a job when I was like 6 and 5 and shit, you know?
It's funny because it's almost like the same thing as you have when you like, if you get a car gifted to you versus buying one yourself, you appreciate it more. You know what I mean? Like you taking the time to go camping, you're going to enjoy it more than actually that forced trip. You're like, all right, I don't care, shit for brains, get in the car, we're going camping. You know, that type of thing where you fucking get roped.
Especially when you're younger. I remember going down some vacations to like Myrtle Beach or Florida or something like that, and just being like, oh, I just can't wait to get back with my friends.
Yeah,
and like not appreciating it.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'm like a little fucking shithead kid. Like,
even like fishing, like we'd go fishing all the time, and my dad would just be like, oh, like he knew me as like the kid that fucking hated fishing. I would just sit in the boat and eat candy.
Laffy Taffy.
Yeah, we more Laffy Taffy's dad. And I'd fucking
Dad, I
just
hate fishing. There's no candy out here.
sleep in the boat. But then I was like, he would fish, like, in my opinion, is like the most boring fucking way to fish, with a bobber and bait. And he'd just sit there and he stare at a bobber. Where, like, I'm like kind of ADD. I need to
Your
do
dad
something.
didn't even drink too, which is like one of the biggest parts of fishing, which is so
have
fucking
a,
odd.
have a couple beers, and like even later, like, you know, now just like if I go, I'll, you know, smoke a joint and fish, and it'd be like, oh wow, it's like just that much more
Look at the
enjoyable
water,
to do.
man.
Yeah, but
Flowing, free.
like I would fish now where I'm like, you know, using a spinner bait, so you're always doing something. You're never just like sitting there, just like fucking waiting, you know. Like you're casting and you're reeling, you're casting and you're reeling, you're trying new spots, you're walking around a lake.
In your dad's defense, though, I imagine like taking your kids with you, like that probably is the easiest way. Because like, could you imagine trying to do spinner fishing with?
Oh yeah, like
three kids
eyes
and then-
lost,
exactly, for
fucking
real.
hooks in the
Yeah,
mouth
like,
and the face and all this shit.
My dad was like bobber fishing.
Same, I was saying,
too,
yeah.
But like also like, and it's funny because I adapted the same thing too. My dad always had a glove in like the tackle box because he didn't like the way fish felt. So I did that too, and then.
Like a gardening glove or some shit?
Exactly, yeah, exactly.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. I think we had one of those, too.
So when we started going fishing, we got a buddy of ours that we went to high school with that was like, he was the fisher. He was actually a fisherman. He actually ended up being like an Alaskan fishing guide.
Yeah.
But like this dude would skip out of school to go fishing, and like we called him Dad as a nickname because he was like an outdoorsman and knew all the good fishing holes and shit. And like I think half the time he'd invite me to go fishing is because with my fishing license that allowed him to have 2 more poles in the boat, right in the water. So it was like just a loophole. It was like, yeah, Klein's a fucking idiot. I'll just have like, you know, I'll use his rods too. But anytime
if you know what I mean.
Hey,
Thought we were fishing.
Back to that Reiki you get, right?
Yeah. What do you need, a Reiki? A tarot card reading?
Reiki handy, fishing. Give me your pole. Give me all the poles.
What do I got to do to jerk someone off around here? Like, what the fuck?
You guys want to come swim in my pool?
Yeah.
But like,
Frank?
I had the glove.
Like an air guitar.
He's all fucking
But,
air guitar
like,
by its pool.
I didn't like fucking baiting the line either. Like we always used like, you know, earthworms when we go fishing and shit. Yeah. And Andy always used minnows and shit. And for reason for me, just putting a fucking hook through a minnow, I felt bad about. So I'd have him bait the line. All I would do was just reel it in, and then he would take the shit off. I don't even like eating fish. It was just for the fucking activity of it. But I just let him, like, you know, fucking talk down to me, call me some expletives. Like, hey, Klein, give me the...
Fucking idiot.
Yeah.
You always say that, you fucking idiot. Like, always. But it was, like, endearing. It was like,
Yeah. All right, thanks. Thank you.
Tough love.
That's always said, like,
Dad.
that's funny. Like, whenever I meet a family or something, like, when we were younger, and like, oh, you can't swear around them. Like, what's wrong with your fucking parents? Like,
Yeah.
like that's like a, like, it's used so frequently. It's just like, hey, pass me the fucking ketchup. You know, like, it's
Yours
just
it
like,
is?
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
Like, and almost to a point where, like, when I would have friends over, I would, like, kind of show that it was okay to do that.
It's a
And it'd be
swear-friendly zone here.
Yeah,
Hey,
yeah,
Mom,
like-
pass the fucking potatoes.
like, fucking I will.
Yeah.
Some bomb-ass fucking food, lady.
Yeah, it's like, what, you know.
Dad, I see why you married her.
But then it's
Yeah.
like kind of like as an adult, you're like, all right, well, why would you want to like, you know, shield someone from that? Like, not
Well,
to say that that's like a proper way to always talk,
Yeah.
but you know, you can't shield them from that.
I think
Like,
especially in this day and age where you internet and you see it's just pretty much everywhere now.
Yeah.
But I grew up, I couldn't even say sucks. Like, this
That's
sucks. So,
hilarious.
so my dad was very strict. Or
stinks. Oh, you watch it.
Yeah, but
You're a little close there.
and then every once in a while, like I remember being at like a restaurant or something. And he wasn't like the most strict. Like he great. He was a great father. Still is.
you want another beer?
Sure. But he
Get around, Eric.
get around. Oh yeah, so we'd be at a restaurant sometimes, and somebody would be swearing at a table next to it, and he'd be like, "Hey, come on, fucking kids around, kids around here." So I swear. Obviously, we swear all the time and stuff like that. I think the opener was right there. You probably have that one too. But yeah, now it's a free for all, and my sisters swear all the time and all that stuff too. But it just, I don't know how I'll be as a father if I'll thank you.
I mean, obviously, since I got a kid.
Yeah, what's
I try
going on
I try
there?
not to swear on it. In fact, I think it's interesting how quick you can turn that off. But I remember, like, one of my first roommates, his parents were ministers and stuff. So, like,
He's a fucking minister.
They came out to visit, yeah. And he's like, hey, don't swear on my parents. I'm like, they're in my house. Like,
Yeah.
I'm going to say whatever the fuck. So I was telling them some story, and I was swearing. He kind of looked at me like, dude, don't
Like,
swear.
so there
I
I
was
was getting rakied.
like, so I'm getting a couple of handies from a Reiki, right? You know, am I right? Fucking.
I brought these up too.
Oh yeah, nice. go.
Professional.
See, that's the server and all of us. We're all. And is that all I can get you today? Do you need some limes?
How am I going to drink this
limes?
beer without a lime? You know, I need citrus.
Well, he had already cut him. We could, you know, boop, boop. It's the bougie side.
Yeah,
of
it's,
it.
I had friends too that like they weren't allowed to like eat sweets and shit. Like you go to their house and it was like even way back it was like only like just like no candy, no sweets, no chocolate.
I like how you said
like,
had friends 'cause
no
it's past
Kool-Aid,
tense.
no
Yeah,
no
like,
pop,
fuck those
right?
guys.
Just only like
Yeah.
you could do Kool-Aid maybe or something, or
like
no,
just,
like lemonade.
fucking water and like fucking really strict and everything.
I remember I went to one house and it was right down the street. Some kid I knew for a long time, and I remember going to their house. So like, yeah, I had like strict in that way of not swearing, but it wasn't like super strict. It was for in the household that I grew up in. But I remember I went to this house when I was maybe 10, and we sit down. I'm having dinner, and it was two twins, and then their mom and dad. We sit down at the table, and like I'm like, here we go, and then they're like, who has their elbows on my table? And I was like, oh shit.
I have my elbows on your table. You're like, fuck.
Yeah.
I remember a kid.
What the fuck's going on here?
Yeah. I had a kid that I was friends with in high school that he went to a different high school, and it wasn't Tony. He was the other end of that spectrum where he fucking had the rule of the roost at his house. He's like, Mom, make me a fucking sandwich, you stupid bitch. Like, and fucking say the craziest shit to his mom. And we'd all be like, like, what in the
Call yourself
fuck?
a mom?
Yeah, like, and then he'd be like, Dad, don't fucking look at me. And it was like, he would fucking just ream out
Why
his
aren't you all
parents.
making me some more money, you loser?
Yeah, his dad was a doctor, and his mom was like a stay-home mom. But I think, looking back, I think his dad fucking drugged the whole family because he could write prescriptions and shit. And his mom would be like, "Hey, how's it going?" I'm like, looking back, like when you're an adult, you're like,
happy.
Oh, that's what was probably happening there. This guy was just like fucking giving drugs to his family, and like, but yeah, like. That was always weird too, like being in a situation like that where someone just would fucking just say the crazy. I could get away with a little bit of shit, but then like I knew if I crossed the line, my dad would beat the fuck out of me. He'd just beat my ass.
We get there's a lot of like memes and stuff out there, like how white kids can talk to their parents and stuff. You ever see that stuff? And like, sounds like that kid.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck, Mom?
Like we could like joke around with our parents, and like if we
not
said
disrespectful.
Things, yeah, if we were disrespectful, my mom would be like, I'm fucking calling your father. And we'd be like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
And then we would just freak the fuck out for the next hour until he got home. And he'd come home just, rah, hold the fuck up. We're like, who fucking dared? Like, what? Who made her cry?
Yeah.
Like, basically, like, and then looking back now, too, it's like, yeah, this guy's fucking working his ass off.
Dude.
He gets a call at work while he's working his ass off, hates his fucking job. And then he's getting a call about more negative shit. Like, yeah, these fucking kids are being fucking assholes.
You think work sucks? Wait till you see these shit kids you have.
Yeah. So, like, I was like, yeah, we deserved it. We were fucking shitty kids.
I was a shitty kid too. I literally, my older sister and I would fight a lot. My younger sister, she was the most mature maybe of all of us. Yeah, there was like the pager days. So he would have to pull over and call us on the phone from like a payphone, and we'd get in a fight and be like, I want to text him, paging dad. And we'd page him like 911. He'd call, what are you guys doing?
That's hilarious.
And then he would sometimes he would get so bad, so he would drive home and just run inside.
Yeah,
like,
oh,
oh
yeah.
shit! Like
The
I'm like, I'm
bells and
such
all
a
that
fuck.
shit.
I'm like, I'm gonna have shitty kids. I know it because of how bad I was. Well,
Yeah,
it turned out okay
we had
though.
this, my dad had a pager too, but he also had this thing. It was like Motorola had a thing called base to mobile, right? And basically in the car we had a CB radio that was linked to our house. It was like a single line thing. And you'd go and be like base to mobile, mobile to base. And like sometimes when my parents are coming home, they would radio at us, and then we'd give them our like McDonald's order or whatever, right? But that was like the go-to thing to like let my dad know that we were acting up if we were acting up from mom.
You get a mobile.
Yeah, it was like in the actual the base part looked like this mic stand. It was like the little button you put base to mobile to base. Did you guys ever have any of those weird friends that had like super strict dog policies that the dog couldn't cross the threshold of the kitchen? You know what I'm talking about? Like
No, we had a
fucking
Zap
Anthony's parents
fence.
were like that. That like the
Who's that?
the dog like couldn't come into the kitchen. It's like get the fuck out of here! Don't you cross that line? Like that kind of shit. Like,
Oh yeah. They're very like.
I find that really weird because we're also dog parents.
Yeah.
You know,
My dog just like I look at my dog as like if I were a parent, I would just let my kid walk all over me.
Yeah,
Because like they say, like, you know, like
it's a good thing you're sterile.
Tony constantly reminds me that his kid and having a kid is the most beautiful experience in the world. Blah 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 blah.
Just made my heart grow 10 times larger. Like
Yeah,
a
and I'm
Grinch,
like,
you know,
well,
no big deal.
I
You get
love
that
my
checked out.
dog so much, and I'm just like, whatever, like, you know, he bit my face, fucking fucked me up really good, but I'm still like, man, I still fucking love you so much, you know. But
Dude, here's the
if I were to
thing,
have a
though.
kid though, like it'd be like the same thing where you just be like, all right, well, you know.
Yeah, you can't let your kid punk you though. That's the thing. Is like there's some of the stuff that Anthony will do when we're like, you know, at home. Like he'll try to, like, you know, I guess challenge me, and I'm like, hey, but you want to pow pow? Like, you know, because I'm not opposed to spanking my kid, but I haven't had to get to that point. But I will not let him make me look like a fucking fool in public and just like run over me. You know what I mean? Like there has to be that kind of boundary. But when it comes to a dog, right? I find that weird when people have them super disciplined, where it's like you see them walk around the neighborhood where there's like some asshole has his dog off leash and they're like by the like on the corner, you know, on the sidewalk,
Yeah.
like, stand, and they fucking sit down all weird and militant. It's like at some
Yeah.
point you're kind of training the
Or like,
fun out of them. You
Yeah,
know what I
not
mean?
letting
Like,
them on the couch or like
Yeah,
in the bed. I'm
exactly.
like, that's like the best
Go.
part of having a
Exactly,
dog is like you
exactly.
get to hang out with them and they're just like
Yeah.
there, like a live fucking
But those are
stuffed
the people
animal
that
kind
like
of thing.
have dogs for like protection. You know what I mean? And usually those are like bigger dogs and stuff too. But like, I always found that weird when like, because we had like a mutt. It was a pound dog, but before rescue was the name, you know, that you called it. And Freckles was everywhere and anywhere at all times. Like ate table scraps and shit, was fed under the table. But like, I remember I was at one of my friends' houses and their dog like walked into the kitchen like, get the fuck out of here. And he was fucking like lost his shit. I was like, whoa, what the fuck happened? I was like so taken aback. I'm like, what happened? Wait, did someone get murdered and it's just the dog walked across to like an imaginary line? I'm like, dude, I don't even know that. Like it's a fucking animal. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, we had like a neighbor that had a dog, and they took care of it at first, and they would just leave it outside all the time.
Yeah,
It's
that
like,
dog.
you fuck, like it's freezing out, like
Yeah.
the fur's all fucked up now.
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, you
man?
can do that too. I mean,
which is so weird. It's like, I can only imagine them getting the dog. Like, I'll take that one to put outside and torture the rest of its life. Like,
Yeah.
it's fucking weird.
Tony has a cousin that has these really big, beautiful Akitas. Is that what they're
Yeah.
called? They're like fucking giant. Like,
Like sled
think
dogs.
think of you think of like an Alaskan Husky, but like twice the width and like twice the length, and like they're just giant. They're like, I don't know, like 100-pound dogs. They're massive. Their heads are like bear heads. They look like they're like really, really like almost like doesn't look like real. And we were over at his cousin's house once for like a New Year's Eve or something like that. And these two dogs are two males. And
Which you're not supposed to have in the same household, but like,
yeah, and I don't think they had them neutered and shit or
No, they were just-
spayed or whatever the
yeah.
hell you're supposed to do with them. But they were just like natural or whatever, and they run around and they kind of, you know, did their own thing. And we're all over there and we're just hanging out and drinking and shit. And I'm petting these dogs and I'm having a great time. They're like really nice, you know. I'm just like, oh, you know, big teddy bears and all this shit. And then I fall asleep downstairs and the dog like kind of curled up next to me, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to sleep with this dog. It's so
Giant
nice, so
stuffed
cute.
animal.
Yeah, I was like, oh, little buddy. And then in the morning, like I see him get up and it goes like downstairs or some shit, and the other dog was down there, and all of a sudden I hear and there's other people like sleeping downstairs and stuff. And everyone starts screaming like, ah, like a girl screams, guys are screaming, everyone's yelling. And then his uncle like runs upstairs, like closes the doors, like, they're attacking each other. He's like, everybody just stay out of the basement. Like, you have to let them finish this.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the fuck is going on? And he's like, you can't control them. They're too big. And I'm like, what? What are you talking about? They're your dogs. You can't control them. He's like, no, they're too big, and they have to like show each
past
other.
the point.
They have to show the dominant one. They have to get it out of their system. So then I'm still like laying on like the floor wherever I was sleeping, and the dog that I was like playing with,
Yeah, the one you're rooting for.
yeah, and they're like identical in size. He comes up and he's like limping. His half of his ear is bitten off. He's like bleeding and shit. And he like lays down by me
Daddy,
again.
good
And
daddy.
I'm like, what in the fuck? Like, I'm fucking so scared that I was like, I was just petting this monster that could have literally killed me like at any second.
Oh, yeah, for
and no one could do anything. I'm always thinking like, oh, you know, the owner has like control. They can be
So
like,
you think it was true that they really couldn't do anything, or he just didn't?
honestly, because
They-
seriously, they're like,
you could not do anything. Like,
that breed is like beta fish. You're not supposed to have two males in the same like
Yeah,
occupancy and stuff. And
they're like, will kill each. They'll
Yeah.
go to like fight to the death, and like, or
There was another
whoever, like,
time,
limps away or is.
same house, same dogs got into it in my my cousins were trying to split them up, and they had to get the fucking garden hose out, bring it in the house, and they're hosing down in the kitchen. There's water everywhere just to fucking shake them off because they were clenched in it because they have lockjaw too, like a like German Shepherd.
Yeah, they're not like I don't care who you are, you would not want to fuck with those dogs. And I was just like, that is the craziest shit. Like I thought you guys had this shit under control. I thought I was safe.
So when it came back upstairs, did you go back? Did you like go back to cuddling it and go back to sleep, or did you?
Yeah, Eric actually nursed it back to life, put a tourniquet on it. Fucking,
no, I just like laid there and I was terrified, and then I was like, all right, I'm gonna just fucking get up, and I like got into the kitchen where there was a table, so I could just kind of, and I didn't like get by because I don't want to like start another fight or whatever the fuck they're.
Wow.
Dude,
you probably made the other one jealous. He's like, I wanted to lay with him.
No, I think it was because I was playing with both of them all night. I was like, oh, this is so fun.
He's like, that fucker took him home.
Yeah.
I was supposed to sleep next to you.
It's like the craziest walk of shame or something.
We were babysitting like a friend's English bulldog, you know, with the fucking folds and shit in their face, which are cute dogs and shit. They have the underbite, but that fold is disgusting. It smells, it stinks, right? But like the dog was cool as shit. And then for some reason, my brother got it like kind of, this is when I was living in Sherman Oaks. I had this cool apartment, had like a spiral staircase, right? And my brother he's just kind of a shit guy. And he fucking like sicked the dog at me. So now this fucking dog's like Cujo, just like trying to fucking bite me. And I pulled up on the spiral staircase and I lift my legs up and I just fucking ended up pulling up. And then I hopped up and he comes around and runs up the fucking stairwell. And I run into the bathroom and close it. He's banging on the door like fucking Cujo for like 15 minutes. He finally calms down, and then we're cool again. And I'm like, and then that night he pops into bed with me. I'm like, I am not comfortable sleeping next to the dog because you were trying to murder me.
An abusive relationship.
If I like roll on you, I'm gonna fuck my face up. You know what I mean? Like
that's how. Well, Larissa got her. She got bit in the face too by a huge. It was a rescue dog that her aunt rescued, and she found it in a dumpster. And it was like this huge pit, but it was like a pit massive.
She put it back in the dumpster after the face bite.
Yeah.
No wonder.
But it was one of those dogs where like we went over to her aunt's house once and she's like, oh, like, let me put the dog in a special room because you're over here. And then I was like, okay, good.
It's just a room of like Larissa chew toys.
Yeah, it was like, she puts a dog in the room and then like we're over there and she's like, I think I'm going to let him out now. And I think dogs can like smell your fear. I think animals can like sense that you're like afraid and shit.
Absolutely.
And I was fucking like, usually I'm like, oh, dogs, you know? And this dog, he just like kind of saunter by, like just kind of like slowly just, and just kind of like look at you and shit. Yeah, it was like, it was like terrifying just to be around because I was like, man, this thing could, again, like knowing that the dog has tendencies to like kind of be irrational and like fuck people up. Knowing that going into that, it's even more terrifying opposed to like being kind of ignorant and being like, hey, and playing with it and all this shit. That's kind of what happened with her. She was like, oh, hey, and like went down by its face and went and jumped up. And she was like, oh, why is my nose wet? And then it bit like her nostril in half. And she's like, oh, I bit my fucking like half my nose off and shit. Yeah, it was like, but this dog, it was funny because her aunt would just be like, oh yeah, you know, just kind of, don't pay him attention. And like you can't have a dog out like that if you have to be like, just don't pay attention to the dog that's going to be there, that's going to want to try to play with you and get your attention and do whatever this shit. I'm like,
it's really fascinating.
Like a bad owner kind of shit.
Yeah, it's really fascinating to see those like dog whisperers and shit that can actually like tame those dogs. Because that's
but
just
sometimes
fucking,
you can't tame them. You remember
or even at least yeah.
You see that one video of him getting fucked up from a golden retriever? Holy shit. He's like, all right, whatever, Bongo, fucking listen to me, or said something to him. And the dog just fucking goes in on his arm. And you see his arm just fucking, he bites it like 5 times. And this thing, it was like a yellow lab or something, or golden retriever, one of those two.
The most vicious of all dogs.
Yeah, something that you would not expect, but it was fucking vicious, and it fucked him up. There's like a great video online of that.
It reminds me of, this is somewhat of a segue if we go into the water world. Have you guys seen that video? It went viral like a month ago where the guy caught like a small shark. And then he really wanted to get the hook out of its mouth. He went to go grab it, but then the shark grabbed a hold of his pinky. He was like, "Oh no!" He's like, "Oh fuck!" He's like, "It took my pinky."
No.
Yeah. You can hear it going. It was just like, yeah, but
God.
yeah, it was pretty
I can't
nasty.
watch that shit when I see it, and it's like
I can't either more than 7
They
times.
get that warning on there, and it's like graphic content. I'm like, no.
Supposedly, I watched another video. Supposedly, it wasn't as bad as it looked like, and he thought like whatever. But
he
he
lost
just,
a pinky.
Yeah,
That's as bad as it can get.
Yeah.
I mean, that's dude. To lose a digit on some dumb shit like that too. Like again, from coming from the trades and like working with saws and stuff, I've always been worried about cutting a finger off. But to do it on something so simple, like if my fucking dog bit my finger off, I would murder my dog. I'm sorry. That just.
I don't think you would.
Well, I would get the finger back. Ace, give me my goddamn finger back.
He swallows it. You're all,
Well, it's gonna be a while.
Also, I just reattach his like leg to my finger.
He took one of my pinkies, so I took
a really
his.
long
He's
pinky finger. It looks like it's white and furry, like a multi-poo leg.
They have a video that came out like maybe a month or so ago of this guy in one of those shark boxes, and he's like a great white shark guy, like goes and finds great white sharks and takes people on these trips and stuff. Well, they put him in like clear plastic, what is that?
Plexiglass.
Plexiglass like cube, right? To get this like huge great white footage. And the thing fucking opens its mouth, breaks through the plexiglass thing that this guy is in, and the only thing that saved him from literally going inside his mouth and being like completely swallowed up by this fucking shark is a piece of that plexiglass that after it broke off, it just like was like this, and the shark's mouth went like this. And he's sitting on top of it, and he's like, he ended up having like a fucking stroke or some shit after it because it was so like traumatizing.
Wow.
And like all this crazy shit. And they have like 4K footage of it, and it's like just came out like maybe last month.
It's like some fucking Looney Tunes show where they get the toothpick in the mouth so they
Yeah.
can't close it. And on the
Oh
fucking
yeah,
mouse,
it was like,
shit, yeah.
whoa, like that has got to be fucking crazy. I don't fuck with the ocean really. Like I've probably only been in the
Not to
ocean
that
out here
degree,
maybe
man. I mean-
a handful of times, and then even when I'm out there, I'm like, nobody knows what the fuck's out
Dude,
here.
the fact that it's known that no one knows what the fuck is in the depths of the ocean, and people are like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go and scuba dive and snorkel." It's like, get the fuck out of here.
What do they say?
No.
It's like some weird like an analogy with like we know about as much of like in a thimble of sand of all the sands in the beach of like the knowledge that we know of the fucking entirety of the ocean or something. It's like something we basically know absolutely fucking nothing about the ocean. And to like put yourself out there, at least if you go in a jungle or a forest or something, you're like, all right, these are the species that are there. These are the threats. Like this is how you can kind of defend that and or prevent injury from that. Out there,
It's like this is what we know about.
Yeah.
but we also don't know much.
yeah, like we don't know.
But here's your snorkel and your goggles. Tighten them up, and here we go.
we know,
Yeah.
we know nothing.
Anybody want to go see a turtle?
Yeah.
You're like, fuck. Like nobody knows what the fuck's out there. That's insane.
Yeah, it's super fascinating, but yeah, there's some weird shit.
Tons of weird shit. What do you guys feel about aliens?
You know, yeah, I'm a big fan of space. It's everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah.
Aliens, man.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on that? It seems that it is the kind of
It's the theme, but it's not. It's our whole thing with like space and all that is like just
expand your mind.
Yeah, just thinking outside of the world.
Potential is
The world box.
I mean, I guess just like the foundation of my thoughts of what's out there is that there's so much that you just don't know. I think, yeah, I think it's fascinating, but I definitely think there's more out there than we know.
absolutely.
there has to be. I think they're just.
I mean,
they're
I think
thinking
there's
about
a species of reptilians that run the sky.
yeah, I think that stuff is like it's really really fun to like entertain those ideas and like be like, oh man, I wonder what is really out there.
Yeah.
because there is like really an endless amount of possibility.
It is.
But then when you think about it too, you're like, there's an endless amount of fucking space out there.
Dude,
like
the
it
thing
never
is this,
fucking
like,
ends. It's
we're
just
never,
like forever.
We are so far away from actually like. I love how we've been talking about going to Mars since I was in high school over 20 years ago. Right, that's like still something like we're gonna terraform and move there. It's like, really? Because I can't get Wi-Fi in my fucking house. Like, how the fuck are you trying to go to another planet on the other side of the fucking solar system and start a civilization where I don't have cell service on fucking Sunset Boulevard in Hollywood? How the fuck? Tell me, please. I would love to know.
All right, here's a question for you. So both of you, if there was another place like Earth, but like almost exactly like Earth, but it'd be completely, pure and not fucked up, no people on it, but just like, fresh air, fresh water, same kind of animals, no dinosaurs or any crazy shit like that. You wouldn't want to go there? If it was like, you'd be like maybe a population of, I don't know, say 1,000
you'd
people.
go there and then you want to tell all your friends back here about the new Earth. I'm like, now you have to go back and get your friends, try to get them out there. Because like, I think part of the, the human experience is the communal experience, right? Like
Right. I'm saying you're going out there with 1,000 people.
1,000. So have you ever driven through Nebraska before?
What's that?
Have you ever driven through Nebraska before? Because I'm always like, when you're just talking about like illegal immigration and shit, and then you drive through Nebraska, you're like, we got space. And there's so much space.
Sure.
But even thinking like, even to think on a smaller scale to
we're talking about extraterrestrials, not illegal aliens. Different aliens.
Yeah.
No, I think you just got to get the right necessary forms.
But even like to think to like pick up and go to a place where there's nothingness for miles and to start there and to make it like a great place to live, and like how long that would even take to get people to like build the eventually charging stations and homes and all of that, starting that from scratch, it feels like it's going to take forever to even do that. But to think to like go to a whole new planet that takes months or whatever to get there.
I think like going like backpacking is like a very small taste of what that could feel
that's
like.
a good
And I
point.
think that might be what like maybe intrigues people or gets people wanting to do that, because they're like, oh, there's no one fucking around here. Especially living in a city where there's way too many fucking people. Basically like one of the biggest cities in the world, one of the biggest areas of population in the world. Like what is California is like the third largest like place or something. It's like it's up there like with bigger than most countries.
Yeah.
You know, like our state has more people than most countries do. So when you are living in such a concentrated area like that with so many fucking people, or like New York City and shit, and just around so many fucking people all the time, when you get like that little dose of like seclusion and solitude, you're like, oh damn, this is pretty dope.
Yeah.
You know?
See, I kind of go back and forth because like, again, like I being from like the Midwest, and you know, we live in the city, it wasn't like completely fucking rural, but like going up to the North Woods and stuff like that, and you're like, there's a happy medium, right? You don't want to be too fucking secluded, and you're like
seclusion with the internet. That's like the fix, I think, because then you can still have interaction with people.
It's like hot ice. It's like the best of both worlds.
Hot ice. Is that Rookie of the Year?
Podcast is brought to you by Hot Ice. Yeah.
I saw that come up on my Netflix the other day. I was
really?
like, oh,
It's
what a
so
great
good.
fucking movie.
But that's what. Like, so I think to answer your question, I think eventually I would at a certain age. Right now, I feel like I have a lot more to do on this planet. Yeah. But one of my favorite things about not necessarily backpacking, but leaving my where I live and just removing myself from the equation, just the perspective switch that you get where you can actually see everything. You're like, oh, no wonder I was feeling that way. Cause it's like, you can just see it. It's like almost like a board game that you're looking at, like, oh, I can see where all the flaws are or something that. But then once you're in it, you can't really see, because what do they say? You can't see the trees through the
forest through the trees.
Forest through the trees. Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's having that new perspective of being somewhere like that and pulling yourself away from like a really concentrated area of people, it lowers anxiety too. I think like you feel that when you're away from everybody, you're just like, and
just the healing things of like water is super healing. And when I went to Lake Huron about a month ago,
Shout out to the Great Lakes.
Unless you're lost and you're like, holy fuck, I'm lost. I got a lot of anxiety.
But we didn't have good internet. But we were like just away near the ocean or near the lake, and just being away and just forced to like, okay, this is where we are. Let's do this. And there's a bunch of cottages.
Yeah, you're definitely present in nature, which is cool.
Yeah.
But and again, I love that kind of stuff too. But I think there's like just, I like the hustle and bustle of the city. But, I was just back in Wisconsin over the weekend and stuff. And just like, again, it's a grass is always greener scenario. Because, we go back and you're like, oh, this is actually fucking beautiful, state. I love this city and stuff. But it doesn't have all the avenues of things that I want to pursue, and that is like the fucking, I guess the rub there that you have to live in.
Well, that's the thing though. Now
like
you don't have to go in the city to do anything or pursue anything. You can literally you could do your your podcast, you could do your comedy, you could do music, whatever, anywhere you want, and that's kind of the beauty of it, where you can kind of like have your cake and eat it too. You can be,
but I can still travel to those smaller markets and stuff via state.
Yeah, and go as long as you want to.
Like again, I'm too rooted here. My in-laws are all here. My family's here. Like I'm not leaving LA, but
not leaving LA, or leaving California, but like leaving LA and like going to like maybe a smaller town and just kind of migrating and getting that like, you know, that taste of that small town vibe, but still be like an hour away from the city and all that.
Yeah, but then that's the thing, man. It's like,
too.
The problem is this. That's why we have a problem with fucking ozone, because everyone wants to fucking live outside the city, then commute in, and that's why there's gridlock traffic. There's just like, you can't literally have, either you're going to live in the city in the heart of it, or you're going to fucking live in the suburbs.
I'm not saying like commute every day. I'm just saying like, you know, you live away from the city, and then maybe, you know, once a week or twice a month.
I'm still on that like drip where I need the city too much.
More frequently. Yeah,
exactly.
That's like, I love where I'm at now. Like this feel like I'm in Hollywood, but it feels like you're not. You can like go walk around and stuff. Yeah. But then also like I would love to have a place in Michigan to be, you know, during the nice months. Yeah. Chicago, I fucking love Chicago now. City, yeah. New York, I could probably do New York for like a three months at a time. So I eventually do want to be everywhere. But
it's funny because both those cities, Chicago and New York, are like, and you round out LA, that's the top 3 largest cities in the country. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, Mark just likes people, you know?
Yeah,
like you're a fucking lone wolf, hence the old adventure dumb shit. That's why you like being out in the woods by yourself.
Yeah. Well, I don't really go.
Christopher McCandless Jr.
I don't really go by myself ever. I've only done like one real solo backing trip, and but like usually I go with, you know, one other person or a couple people, and that is so much fun too. Like doing that. Yeah, but that's like I wish like you guys got into that stuff. That's so much fun. It's basically like doing this kind of shit, but you're out in the woods and doing that. Imagine this. We're in the woods.
Again, you're having a shared experience with another person. You're seeing some of the most beautiful fucking like sights and scenery on the planet and shit. Like I do. Again, I used to go backpacking a lot too, and I haven't gone, you know, in forever. You know, over 20 years at this point. Eventually, they'll get me out there again, but.
Yeah, that's like one of my goals is to get my brothers. My one brother did go on a cool trip with me. That was a lot of fun, but like. Trying to get people to spend their days off in the woods, like pooping in the fucking forest and shit, is like a hard sell for most people. Yeah. So it's like, it's kind of like
I think there's so many things I think I'm missing out because I don't want to. I think I'm missing out on that. So I definitely would like to at least dabble in that and see what's up, because there's like, when you get so used to this lifestyle, I remember going back to Michigan and bringing like a girlfriend or friends or whatever, and then getting there and we're like driving from the airport to my family's home, and it's like 20 minutes. Like, wow, it's so green, and I was like, oh yeah, it is fucking green. I never realized that because I just saw all I saw was just a bunch of space before. Exactly. But I'm like,
Dude,
LA, I like
completely agree with you on that. Yeah,
and I'm like, you just don't realize it, and then it opened my eyes to see.
Which is funny because again, too, when I used to do those like long drives out to my cousin's place in Maguanago from Waukesha, it's like a 20-minute drive. It's probably actually about 20 miles as well. Where a 20-minute drive in LA is 2 miles, right? So it's like. But in like any kind of like, you know, long drive, it's just fucking building the whole time, which is, I guess when I first moved out here, I'm like, it's cool. I don't even mind being in traffic. There's all this stuff to look at, you know what I mean? Because it was all new to me, but now I'm just kind of like, it's the same fucking build. I'm stuck at this building. I haven't, you know, I know where I'm at.
That's why I just don't leave. I just created a life where I'm just like, everyone comes to me, and I'm like, the traffic, what the fuck?
It could definitely make you want less things or show the things that are important in your life. Like even, you know, family, being around friends, things that you don't have when you are like in a secluded space like that, or like, you know, in the mountains somewhere, there's not a lot of people around. So like one of the things that I like, probably one of the biggest things that I learned from those experiences was like, I got back to my apartment in Hollywood and I was like, what the fuck do I have all of this shit for? Yeah. Like all I needed for a month. Like I lived in the woods for a month. I did like a 220-mile hike.
You're like,
yeah, but it's like, it's good though, because it really kind of like being a I wouldn't even say I'm a minimalist, but I have those kind of
you are a minimalist. You're also an idealist, where it's like I don't need this. Like, yeah, but what if there was that one pair? Like I only need one pair of socks. I can only wear one pair of socks at a time. It's like, yeah, but you need to have another pair to.
Yeah, like having you know like those things, like I still have, but like when I like every time I go on a trip, I come back home and I'm like, definitely don't need like this dresser full of bullshit that I haven't worn in like a year or 2 years. Don't need this like, you know, mechanical or widgets or, you know, whatever the hell it is. And I just throw away so much shit or donate so much stuff that it like really makes you kind of like focus on the things that you actually use in your life, like things that are important to you.
And I think that's what like Naval says something about like if you can't enjoy the coffee, then you're not going to be able to enjoy the yacht or something like that. So like those small things. And the best switch up in my life was when I did sell everything and it got to the point where I was wearing the same socks every day, like minimalistic lifestyle. Got rid of pretty much all of my expenses.
I'm wearing the same fucking clothes that were the last podcast.
It's got by the way, Adventure Dome, make sure you guys check that out.
Make sure you wash your
Just
clothes.
hose Eric down every show.
Yeah.
But that changed everything for me. And I remember, so I had this 2 pairs of jeans and like 4 shirts. And I realized I didn't need anything. I was finally aligned where I had like the nice apartment before. I had everything I needed. I thought I needed the nice car, but all these expenses where I could never really go anywhere because I had fucking work to pay for all this stuff.
Right.
And then from there, I remember I finally moved back into an apartment. I remember all my the few things that I did have, because the whole bedroom was all like freshly painted white and stuff, and it just felt dirty. Mm-hmm. And I had I still have 1 pair of socks that I kept. So based on like minimalistic lifestyle, I had like 2 or 3 pairs of socks, and I would wear them a couple days in a row. And one day I finally like booked a client, and then I had some money, so I went into Urban Outfitters down the street and got a pair of these Bart Simpson socks because I was going to go out that night and go hang out. So I put my new socks on. Yeah. New socks feel fucking amazing. You ever put a new pair of socks on?
That's the one of the best things you can do.
That's like the gift that keeps on giving. We'd always like joke every Christmas we get my dad socks and underwear, and he'd be like, "Yeah, socks and underwear." And then as I got older, I was like, "Fuck yeah, socks and underwear. That's the shit." Like putting on a new pair of.
So you only need a few pair, but then just refresh it every once. You want to throw the old ones out. But you don't when you don't need anything. Oh man, life just. But gets then good.
Too, it's like the like getting caught up in like materialistic stuff all the time. Like it's kind of like a rat race. It's never gonna end. You're always gonna want something new and better and all this kind of shit.
I do think it's funny though that Mark, the first pair of socks you buy are expensive ass Urban Outfitter socks.
Yeah, Urban Outfitter socks expensive.
Well, they're like one pair. I think I was because that's where I used to hang out at that Starbucks over there and just like sleep around. Not like that. Yeah. Sleep on the streets over there. There's a nice little area. I felt a little safe. But yeah, I found a friend that wanted to go out. They're like, "Hey, let's go out." I'm like, "Well, I can actually afford to like go have a beer now."
I'm not saying too that you can't have like expensive things. Like being a minimalist doesn't mean you can't have things that are expensive. You just have like something that you have it has a purpose and you find the value in it, and then that's
why I still don't have a car because that's my one thing that I still like grounds me in
minimalistic cars.
Yeah. But that's my one thing.
Just
that's the one
sacrifice another car
that
in garbage.
That's like the gentleman. You can't have another car if you have a gentleman like that.
Yeah, that's that one. Man, I almost didn't buy a car because of that. Jesus Christ, that car is so shitty. I don't even want a car.
That can only be opened on the outside.
It's funny, like waiting on people at work all the time. Still waiting tables, still punching the clock. But you wait on a lot of like super successful people, and a lot of them are in the business end of basically just making money, right? So to what point is enough? Like a lot of the people I'm always like I'm waiting on, I'm like, man, like you're fucking at this hotel or restaurant like just as much as I am, and I fucking work here. Like what the fuck are you doing with your life? Like, and then I'm like, why would you, knowing already that you've made enough money to spend in 5 lifetimes, much more than anyone would ever need, but your lifestyle is so accustomed to this bullshit that you keep buying and the things that you want to buy and impress or whatever the fuck you're doing, that like, why aren't you spending your life like traveling and learning about other cultures, going and seeing other things that you probably haven't, or if you have been there, you were there for a business meeting, or you're there and staying in a fucking, 4 seasons or some bullshit, and we're like having some odd experience in that place where you're not really understanding what it's like to actually live there or the people and any of that stuff. So I feel so many fucking people that I wait on are just I feel like I'm fucking wasting my life because I don't have the financial freedom to kind of go and do those things, but they do, and they still choose to not do those things. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, you won the game, buddy. Like you fucking won. Like, what are you doing? Like you already they gave you the trophy, you fucking won the gold medal, and you're still like running the marathon. Like, I'm going to win it again. It's like, dude, just fucking parts, give it up. Like go and fucking, you're doing it wrong now. You did it so right there. Actually, you're fucking it up.
There's probably a generational thing where they want to be able to provide for their kids and their kids' kids. Right?
Yeah,
and there's also the actual act of like most you're human beings. I think as a species, we're geared to to have a task at hand. If it's just pushing a fucking rock up a hill, that's just what you do to pass time, right? And if they have, power meetings and they're fucking, they're probably cashing big checks.
I guess,
every time they're
people are
there.
trying to like, they're maybe that's their motivation. They're always after the win or like I'm trying to, I wanted the deal. That's
what was
like
it?
what gets
Fucking
them.
Wolf
It's
of
not
Wall
even
Street?
it's not even the money.
And
It's
it
like,
depends on what business they're in and stuff like that. Because I think I had a friend that came by yesterday and he was talking about his friend that has $500 million and how he'll call him up crying drunk and saying like, oh, fuck, I wish I didn't have a dime. And the only thing people want from me is my money and stuff like that. And they didn't
by the way, can I
figure
get a
it out.
check?
Yeah.
right. Cause they didn't figure it out.
Yeah.
Bill
That's
you for
why
this phone call. Yeah.
That's why if you can literally find your passion, your purpose, and you match that with hard work ethic, and then you also try to impact the world positively, you could do that on any scale. Like I want to build several businesses and always do new things and have new people and give new opportunities. But the main thing is my main thing is through these different things, help other people do what they want to do.
Right. Yeah.
Based on that as
I
well.
think if you're like your root purpose is to be creative and being helpful, that you can do that throughout your life, no matter what. And you don't have to be paid in order to do that. In order to get to the place where you're financially free and able to kind of do that without having to worry about bills and stuff like that, there is a certain point that you have to achieve in order to be able to do that.
But there's also supposedly, I'm not sure where the stat is. It's like $80,000 a year. Like after you make $80,000 a year, it doesn't affect your happiness at all.
Yeah.
So if
Used to be 70,000, but now
inflation.
Inflation. Yeah.
All right, talk about Tony's next segment, inflation. Give us a breakdown of where we're at today.
We are fucked, everybody.
All right, that's the inflation. That's all the politics we got for today.
But I do got to wrap this up.
Let's wrap it up. Yeah. All right, this is welcome back to
Jerry Springer. Closing thoughts.
Yeah, thank you for listening to the
this
or that podcast.
No, I got a show though. I gotta.
You got a show. Hey, give us a little rundown of what you're gonna do at your show. Knock.
Knock. I'm gonna do some hot takes on dadisms.
We'll just talk about this podcast on there. Do a little cross promo. Hey,
maybe we're
what's the deal with
We don't have a name
podcasts?
for yet, and we're kind of still working on topics and whatnot.
Ask the audience. Be like, hey, everybody, just shout out names of a podcast. To be
this
funny.
or that. I just came up with it.
This or that.
No, it's not it.
But you don't have any deep thoughts to close on? Or
Start over there.
Thought-provoking?
I could see his eyes are.
Deep Thoughts by Eric Russler. Everyone out there, just be you. Live your own truth. A lot of fucking shitty shows always say that. It's my truth. Well,
my best me.
Yeah, I don't know. Just fucking live your life to the fullest, and keep keeping on and keep trucking and
go out in the woods and
go shit in the woods for a month and figure out what life's about.
Be one with it. Earth aliens.
Yeah.
I guess you can kind of dress up your statement there and basically get out of your comfort zone. Go do something you don't do.
There
just
you
so you
go.
can appreciate what you do on the reg, right? You know what I mean? Get another perspective.
Yeah, get other perspectives of life.
And for people that live in the woods, come in the city.
Come shit in the woods. Come shit in the bathrooms.
Shit in the bathroom.
Yeah, 2.5 bathrooms.
Stop shit in the woods and shit in the toilet.
Yeah, my deep thought. I'm starting to make a list of different videos that I want to do, like these just one-offs with. But my biggest lesson from the last 7 years was I realized that things weren't happening for me because I wasn't actually putting in the amount of hard work that it actually takes. Yeah. So I think a lot of people get mad, like, why is it's not working out for me, or this person has it better or whatever. But that's one of the videos today. I was thinking on that. I was like, I wish people would understand how much hard work it takes and then stop. There's like that big thing about imposter syndrome and stuff like that, that a lot of people don't feel like the position that they're in, that they don't deserve it or whatever the case is. But I think, I still feel that way on certain things that I'm doing as well. But I think eventually if you keep on working hard at something and putting in as many hours as possible, then you can, you eventually will shed that, or you still have little things that creep up. We're fucking weird.
I don't think that's a
humans and
bad
shit.
thing necessarily, though.
Which part?
Kind of like imposter syndrome.
It is if it's crippling. A lot of people, it's crippling, and they start pointing fingers like it's because the society and this stuff. It's like, no, you just didn't put your 10,000 hours in yet.
Yeah,
I'm like,
very true. Yeah, especially with like the fucking blow up overnight TikTok.
Not saying imposter syndrome isn't real. There's definitely, it's different for everyone.
I feel that way every time I walk into a Guitar Center, and I've been in bands for fucking over a decade.
You were great 3 months into playing guitar.
Yeah, maybe, but like even then, I'd still go.
But like, but that's all you needed was this, because you don't need to be a fucking.
Even to this day,
Lenny
if I go to a
Kravitz.
guitar center, I'm like, I don't belong in here. Like, I don't know what the fuck I'm
that's
doing.
the
I only
fucking
know
tone
like a
of
few
guitar.
chords.
That's just because
They're
it's
bigger
indoors.
people.
You know, he's used to,
Can I shit on the floor here?
in the acoustic wood room.
That guy's shitting more than the acoustic guitars. Get out of here. He's back.
Come on here.
Yeah. He's with the guys playing air guitar. Come on, Kurt.
Frank.
I've made Kurt and Frank is the same person in my head now.
Basically.
Tony, what are your deep thoughts?
You know, it's funny. I threw that topic out there, and I don't really have any deep thoughts.
Is that the name of the podcast, Deep
what's-
Thoughts?
I used to have deep thoughts all the time. What were they, Mark?
What's the deal with?
Well, you know, yeah. Why is it that you know?
Tony's like an off the cuff guy.
Yeah.
Like really good, just fucking.
I don't know what I can
zingers.
deep thoughts, but like
Zingers. That's the whole thing.
I don't know. You can't.
Something about rap music. Who do you like these days?
Ooh,
Tony played.
You're a
me
big
some-
Logic guy.
some
Are
really-
you still a big Logic?
I do like Logic. I do. But right now, what the fuck is it?
He's like a music dealer. Like people
Yeah,
are
yeah.
drug dealers. Tony's like a music. He's like,
He's
hey,
fucking,
you want to hear something crazy? Check this song out.
Yeah.
It's all, like for my whole life, he's always been
Joyner
like that.
Lucas is my new.
I love Joyner
Is
Lucas.
fucking solid. Yeah.
Does Mark know that band that you fucking showed me today?
Oh,
he played me some like Irish, like Toll Booth Willie
Scottish,
fucking.
We Were Promised Jetpacks are a Scottish Glasgow punk band from the early 2000s.
Sounds like Conor McGregor was like in a punk band or something. I'm like, what?
Yeah, miss, yeah.
Yeah, I'm like, what
Punk
is
band,
this
yeah.
shit?
Wait, you don't, that's your deep thought?
No, my deep thought is, you know, you can't have happiness without the penis.
What?
It's a sexist. No, just kidding. You call you
You're phoning a friend for
FaceTime my
Tony's
wife?
deep
Yeah,
thoughts.
Tony doesn't have a deep thought, so we're gonna have to get a deep thought from somebody else.
Ooh,
Rob,
Yeah, who do you think it is?
is it Rav?
it's gotta be.
I hope it is.
Yo,
Oh, shit.
The Rubes.
What's up, man? We catch you at lunch. Dinner?
What are you in a casino?
I'm in Atlantic City.
Ah, you are.
Hey, so we're just this is our second podcast we just did together. We need a deep thought. You have anything you're pontificating on? You could
You have
give us
any,
before we wrap it up?
Any random
Is there a
deep
deep
thoughts?
thought?
Yeah.
Yeah, deep thought.
Any gems I gave you in the past?
You're catching me at a bad time. I'm in Atlantic City.
Yeah, but you always got something.
Oh, a deep thought. That's tough. I don't know, bro. I don't know.
What
When
is?
you're drinking heavy, bet soft, and when you're drinking soft, bet heavy.
Ah,
See?
I can
Ruben.
count on you, man.
That's good.
Clutch
What?
man, Ruben, right there.
He's not even talking about the casino.
Yeah.
He's talking.
I'm in Atlantic City.
Hey, good luck to you, my friend.
Yeah.
Can't hear you.
All right.
Yeah.
Yo, I missed you.
We miss you too.
I miss you too, dude.
Hold on a second. It's Eric and Tony, man. I miss all of you.
We miss you more.
Hey, by the way, do we have the right to put you on the podcast and put you all over the internet?
Doug, I'll be on the podcast if you need me to be.
Done.
Hell yeah, dude.
Say less.
That would be amazing, actually.
I got a mic. I got a mic and a camera, bro. Like if you need
Yeah,
me to
we
be on
could
a
do
podcast,
that.
I'll do it.
Zoom them in next
We got
week.
Bluetooth right
Yeah.
there.
Hell yeah.
Okay.
What?
All right, Ruben. Tony has to go do a show, so we were just closing it up. But he you
Yo,
know,
I love all three of you. Man.
we love you too,
Love you
man.
more, buddy.
Love you too, brother.
Yo, but I love Tony the most.
Oh, there we go. Thanks,
Well, that's it for the
all know
podcast.
that. We all knew that.
All right, Ruben. We'll hit you soon, man. And yeah, I got some other stuff to tell you. We'll talk soon.
All right, man. I'll see you.
All right,
Later,
peace,
bud.
bro.
Later.
Bye, Ruben.
All right,
All right, there we
Ruben
go. We got
saves
deep
the
thought from Ruben. Yeah,
day.
that's why we had him. Yeah.
Next week we'll bring in some animals and shit. Remember
We
that?
got to get Joe Seeby on this motherfucker,
Yeah,
too,
yeah.
because he's got some funny stories.
He does. Yeah, we have to do about a 4-hour podcast. But,
Fucking
We ran out
love
of tape,
Joe.
and this thing's digital.
I love Joe. He's got a lot of good stuff to say. All right, cool. Well, you can find Eric Russler at
AdventureDumb.com and AudioUnderdog.com or Eric Russler on Instagram and TikToks.
Or
and
In the
just-
Woods.
Just Google. You can
can find
come
him.
across me pooping in the woods.
Tony Klein.
Tony Klein at Tony Klein Comedian on all the social media and TonyKleinComedian.com if you want to check out my outdated website.
Ooh, Mark
Outdated.
Rodriguez TV or Mastermind Media. Thanks, guys, for listening and watching. And man, this is fun.
Every Saturday.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
we're here.